I'm Kelli Garrison, and this is Seeking Sunshine, where we find the positive in the trials of life. Why don't you join me? 'Cause I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Oh, oh. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. If you like this song, this is the acoustic version of Seeking Sunshine that is an exclusive just for my email list, which you can go get at CarolieGarrison.com. Just hit subscribe, and then you will get an email that will send you to a place where you can go download the song and have it all for yourself for free. So go check that out. Hello, and welcome back to Seeking Sunshine. Thank you so much for coming and listening today. I just know you are going to love this episode. Today, I have an interview with my amazing friend, Kelli Podzikowsky. She is a mother of 5, superhuman mom over there, and she also has a thriving business, and she somehow manages to not just make it all work and fit in her life, but she does it with such joy and beauty and charisma. It is just incredible. She has so much knowledge to drop. This episode is just going to blow your mind. I am so excited to share it with you. So let's just get moving because I really want you to hear everything she has to say. Welcome, Kelli. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we've definitely had our fair share of, challenging times. I would say, just having 5 kids, it is challenging, but I think we've been through harder stuff. So I had twins, and they were born 3 months early, and they were in the NICU for 3 months.
I didn't realize they were that early. I knew that it was difficult, but I didn't know they were so early.
Yeah, they were 29 weeks when we had them, and at the same time so my first 4 kids are only 3.5 years apart. So when my twins were born, my oldest was 3.5, and then I had my daughter was 18 months. And so having 2 babies in the NICU for 3 months, and then 2 babies at home, and then so that was hard. That was one of the hardest experiences I've ever gone through, just dealing with that. And then even when they came home, though, it was just so hard because they came home on oxygen, and they were on oxygen, I think, for 3 months. So, and then, premature babies, just comes with so many other stresses. And anyway, that year was one of the hardest years of my life. But so there's a couple, I want to highlight some of the challenges that we've gone through, because I've noticed as I look back, there's a pattern of the things that have helped me get through it all. So the other, I would say the 2 hardest experiences of my life was that, my twins being in the NICU and that whole thing. And then last year we fostered 2 of my nephews. And so I had 6 kids for 1.5 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they're all really close in age. So my 2 nephews, they were 7 and 8 when we got them. And then I had a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and then they were 3, I think. My twins were 3 when they were 4.
Well, and seriously, all you have to say is twin 3 or 4-year-olds, and that's enough to just be because I remember, because I think, what year were they born?
They were born in
2019?
2018.
2018. I don't know why I was thinking they were close to Benjamin's age. They're not.
My oldest is close.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, and I keep getting whenever I have my mic unmuted and yours is unmuted, I always get echo. So I try to mute myself as often as I can, but I've not found a way to fix that. I don't know what's wrong with my computer. But anyways, yeah, having twin 4-year-olds alone is enough of a thing to just be overwhelming on its own. And then to add on another 4 is just mind-boggling.
And to have them, so not only were they all really close in age, so all 6 kids were each basically a year apart, and then my twins are the same age, obviously. So they're close in age, and then my nephews also came with a lot of baggage, obviously, from their situation that they were in. And so that caused, oh my gosh, like that was so hard. Like juggling, adding two more kids to a family, displacing my oldest because he was the oldest and he went from being the oldest to the middle child, which caused a whole slew of emotional problems for him, you know, plus trying to nurture and take care of these two kids that have so many extra needs and so many emotional like struggles. Anyway, it was a lot. It was very overwhelming. And at the same time, I've been running my business. So I have an online health and finances business that I run and that I'm super passionate about. There's no way I'd be letting that drop because it fills my soul. Like I love it so much. And so I just was like, I got to just figure out how to do this, like how to juggle all of this. And it was really hard, but I did. So getting to the like seeking sunshine part, right? Like how the heck did we do this? And first of all, like one thing I have to say is just you're going to have hard times. Like there were some really, really hard, dark moments with both of those experiences between my twins being in the NICU. I cried almost every single day that they were gone. Okay. So seeking sunshine doesn't mean that you're just going to be happy all the time. And even though you're trying to stay positive and everything, like that doesn't mean that you're just going to feel good about everything. Like it's going to be hard. It's still
Absolutely.
you know, and it's not going to make the situation any better. And even though you're willing to go through it, like when I had my twins, I had people that were like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I could never do that. I don't know how you do that. And I'm like, well, it's not like I chose this. Like they were born early. They had to come then. And I wouldn't have chosen this, but what are you going to do? Like, I just have to do it, you know?
Oh, it's like,
And
what am I going to do? Stop?
exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Like, you know, like I'm sure you understand that, like with having all your autistic children, like people are like, I could never do that. It's like, it's not like I chose this life for myself. Like this is
Yep, you just kind of keep rolling with it and just do your
yeah,
best every moment. And sometimes it's a
exactly.
moment by moment thing.
Yeah. So it's just gonna be hard. And so anyway, so and like taking in my nephews, like that was voluntary. Like we didn't have to do that, but I wanted to do it and I felt like God wanted it to happen. You know, I felt right about it, but it was dang hard. Like so hard, you know? And anyway, but the things that got me through it was like number one, God, obviously. Like I can't separate him like from anything because he's the one that takes those hard things and makes it so that something good can come out of it. And I have to say that despite how hard the NICU was, there are so many lessons that I learned from that have made me who I am today and have made me a better person because of him, because he helped me to learn the lessons and he helped me to see it from a different perspective. And he brought people into my life that helped me to learn those things and all the tender mercies that get you through it. Like, there is no way I could survive any of the things that we've done without God and acknowledging him, you know? Because when you take a second to, when you're going through all this crap, when you take a second to look for him in your life, that's where the sunshine comes in.
That's
Because
exactly right. That's exactly what the whole seeking sunshine thing is about. Is like even in our darkest, most difficult times, like I've been saying, every blessing is filled with trials and every trial is filled with blessings. There's both sides of the coin everywhere you turn. You just have to choose which ones you're looking for.
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, it's really just about what you choose to focus on. Because you're going to have the hard stuff and you can choose to focus on that. And if that's what you choose to focus on, that's what's going to keep multiplying. And that just sucks.
Well, and it
But
kind of like that perspective of like, this is so hard. How am I going to get through this? How could all of these terrible things be happening at once? Because they always seem to like pile up,
yep,
right? They always seem to just like come run one right after the other. And when you're sitting there and you're just like, and don't get me wrong, like we have these times where we just kind of like sit in that self pity bubble for a few minutes. And hopefully we only stay there for a few minutes and then we go, okay, let's broaden this perspective and look a little bigger and think of the possible good future that could come of this.
Yes.
Like the NICU doesn't last forever. The NICU is I mean, Benjamin was in the NICU for 6 days. So it was nothing compared to your 3 months. But like, it was brutal. And it's looking at that going, this will end. There will
Mhm.
be good things after this at some point. And now your boys are healthy and thriving and amazing.
Yeah.
And like, it's once you have that bigger picture perspective, which is exactly what God helps us find, is that big picture.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog's all loud in the backyard.
I've got dog.
But yeah, it's having that big picture perspective, which is exactly what God gives us, is what helps us.
Absolutely. And that kind of is like the other thing that helped me is, so I was saying focusing on God and focusing on gratitude. Um, because when you think like, again, it just goes back to that, like you can think about all the things that you're lacking in your life and what's going wrong, or you can focus on the things that you're grateful for and focus on that. But one thing, so there's a tool that I was given like probably 2 years ago that has helped me a ton, because I'm really big on like, yes, be positive and like focus on the bright side and focus on gratitude, but also like when stuff happens, like, it still hurts and you need to acknowledge that, because you can't just like, I'm really big on like processing your feelings, allowing yourself to feel and allowing yourself to move through it, because otherwise it just gets stuck, and that's when you get depressed. Like just yesterday I was feeling really depressed. We've had a lot of stuff happen this month that's been super stressful, and I didn't realize how much it was getting me down. But yesterday I found myself being like really depressed, and to where I start, like, I'm an emotional eater, and when I get depressed, like, I turn to food, and I felt myself like going towards that. Like I was like, I just want to eat this like 10 cupcakes right now, because I'm just so, I feel so powerless. And I stopped and I was like, okay, like this is getting bad. I need to stop and evaluate what's going on here. And so I stopped, and I texted my husband, and I was like, hey, because he was about to come home, and I was like, listen, you're gonna come home, and I just want you to know I'm feeling really depressed right now, and I need to take some time to process this. So the house is gonna be a mess. The kids are playing video games. If that overwhelms you, please just be gentle with them, because mom had to check out for a second. Because that's something I've just, whenever I check out, like he gets really mad because the kids make a total mess of the house, and it's
Well, and
chaos.
that's
Fine.
it's the communication that you're like modeling here is so essential, like in relationships and in life, like to be able to just go, okay, like not just like the communication with your husband is amazing, but to sit there and go, okay, here's how I feel. Here's what I need to do to move that along so I can progress and eventually move my way out of this. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's not like, oh, I need to just go fix this right now, but I need to like to take that minute to like self-analyze and go, okay, here's where I'm at. Let me put it in words. Let me
Yes.
take a moment. Like that is so amazing.
And
And
that's really crucial, I think, because like if you just say, oh, I just need to think positive or whatever, like I know all these strategies, I study this stuff, and at that moment yesterday I was like, I don't want to do those things, which tells me my body wants to face it and like needs to just sit down with it for a second. And so I did. So I sat down with it, and I was writing in my journal, and I just started talking about all the crap that's been going on. And in my journal, I just wrote it all down. I was like, here's what's been happening this month. And it was almost like when I wrote it all down, I was like, whoa, no wonder I'm feeling so crappy. Like I've been carrying so much this month. And it was like, it was almost like, we carry this bag, and it was like I put it down. I didn't take it out. I didn't get rid of all the stuff that was in it. I just put it down in my journal. And I felt so much lighter just putting down the bag that I was carrying and being able to just pinpoint what is weighing me down. And that helped me so much, just to be able to put it down. And that's something that I really encourage people to do. Like if you're depression, like, and I'm not, putting a blanket over this, but a lot of depression that we feel, it's kind of like the check engine light of your car. there's a reason you're feeling it. Like your body is telling you something is not right. And that's a defense mechanism that your body has because it's trying to protect you from the things that are trying to hurt you. And so when you're feeling that depression, like it's not something like, hey, something's wrong with you. Like it's like, hey, like you're hurting. Something's hurting us. We need to stop and take care of this. We need to freeze for a second. And that's what it's trying to make your body do. That's why you can't get out of bed. It's like, that's why you don't want to do anything because your body's like, no, we got to stop everything because we got to be safe right now. And so if you can take the time to be gentle with your body and just say, hey, let's pull this apart a little bit. What's going on? Like, what are we feeling? And so this is what there's an activity, like I'm very practiced in analyzing my emotions. Like I love this. I'm obsessed with this. I've been doing this for a long time. But for other people, that's like kind of hard to do. Like it's hard to kind of like, how do I analyze what I'm feeling? And so there's this activity, it's called FADES, FADES. And it's where it stands for fear, anger, disappointed, embarrassed, and sad. And so if you can sit down and think, okay, first, fear. Like, what am I feeling afraid of? Is there something that I'm feeling fearful about? Like, I'm afraid that I'm never going to have the life that I want or something. Like, I'm afraid that I'm never, that I'm going to let people down. Like, whatever it is that you're feeling afraid about, and you write it down and get that out, put it down, right? Put the bag of fear down and get it out of your system. And then you think, like, what am I angry about? Is there something that I'm angry about that I'm holding on to? Like, I'm angry that this person said something to me and it just really upset me that they said that. You write that down, put it down. Is there something that I'm feeling disappointed about? Like disappointed that I wanted to get my house clean and I didn't do it. I had this whole to-do list and I failed. I'm really disappointed in myself for that, and then you write it all down. And embarrassed. That one like surprises me how much feeling embarrassed about stuff really weighs you down. And like I'm embarrassed at like my kid's behavior and I feel like it's a reflection on me, or like I'm embarrassed that I said I was going to do something and then I did it really badly, and like I'm so embarrassed about that, like what's wrong with me. And then the last one is sad. Like, what are you feeling sad about? And that's another one. And it's amazing how good it feels just to break down each one of those and like be able to analyze it and put it down. So that's like the first step of that activity. And that helps me a ton, especially when I'm not really sure what's going on. Like if I'm like, I'm just not feeling good and I don't know why, that really helps me. But the second part of it is the best part, okay? Is you, after you've done that and you feel really good, like you've gotten it all out and you've gotten it down on paper and put down the bag, then you go back and you combat each one with gratitude. So of things that you can control. So like if I'm feeling like fearful that, I'm not going to accomplish this financial goal that I had, or I'm fearful that like one that I always have is like, I'm afraid that I'm not going to like finish my to-do list or something. I get stressed about that. Or like if I'm disappointed that I didn't get the dishes done, then I'll go back and say, I'm grateful that that's not a reflection of who I am as a person. I'm grateful that my worth is not dependent on me doing the dishes. I'm grateful that I can do the dishes tomorrow and that's okay, and you just think about the things that you're grateful for that you can control. If you're angry at someone for the way that they treated you or something, like, even though, yes, I'm angry that they treated me this way, but I'm really grateful that God has given me the atonement and that he will help me be able to forgive. I'm grateful that there's second chances, or I'm grateful that I don't have to be around that person very much, like whatever it is. But when you combat those things that are bringing you down with gratitude, those are like all those pockets of sunshine that will just blast through all that darkness. And pretty soon, that's what you're going to start seeing in your life. And it lifts you up and helps you to keep going. And so that's a strategy that I've done that has made a huge difference for me in helping to train me how to refocus on the positive and how to like focus on things that I can control. Because often when we're getting down and depressed, it comes from like not Like, it's things that we can't control. And so when you change your focus on the gratitude for the things that you can control, it just makes all the difference. So anyway, that was kind of a long, like,
Dude, that was
spiel for me.
amazing. That was like such gold. Like I'm like blown away. That was so, so great. I loved that every second. That was amazing.
Thank you. I've thought a lot about this stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's the blessing, right? Like, I wouldn't know any of this stuff if I hadn't been going through all the crap, you know?
Right? Like there's some sunshine right there is like how much we learn as we go through these hard things. And nobody goes through life without hard things. And so the more that we can like share that how to conquer, how to get through it, how to come out the other side and not just be a wreck,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think that that's the other thing is, as you get through it, you get stronger. And I'm sure you've noticed that too. Like, things that used to be like so hard, now you look at it and you're like, well, I mean, when I had my
I
child, like, I was like, oh my gosh, one kid is so hard. And now I'm like, one kid, like, I'm like master at juggling 12. I usually have like a million children at a time, you
Well,
know?
and I think we should mention here, like, for anyone who doesn't know you, which is, I mean, I don't have a huge audience, but whoever doesn't know you, like, you just had a baby. Like,
Yeah.
you just had a baby. How old is Charlie? Like, a month? Something like
Yep.
that?
He'll be 7 tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow, and that just flew by because I feel like I feel
I know
like it's been weeks.
it did.
And that's just amazing. Like, that's one of the toughest, like, I don't know, sections of life. That's one of the hardest things to like do is to have a newborn. And you don't just have a newborn, you have a newborn and twins and the other two and your business and everything else that's going on. And so how is that? I'm curious.
Like, happy
Let me
and
see
all
if my thing will.
that. Well, that's the thing of funny, I guess, trials and we go through is, like, you have to remember, and this is what I remind people. I had twins and two very small children. I had 4 under 4, including twins, right? That was like extremely difficult. And then I had 6 kids. Before this, I had 6 kids that I was juggling, not 5. So I'm down one. And so this is actually so much easier than anything I've ever done so far. As crazy as that sounds to a lot of people, like compared to having twins in the NICU and 6 kids and 2 of them having a lot of, baggage and stuff, like, after going through all of that, this time of my life is like fresh rain. Like, it's like a breath of fresh air for me. And the age gap between Charlie, that's my baby, he, like, there's 4.5 years between Charlie and my twins. So all my other kids are older now, whereas I'm used to having 4 toddlers and babies all at the same time. Now I just have one baby. And then the rest of mine are kids and they're like, in preschool and school. And so for me, like, after everything we've gone through, this is honestly kind of easy. Like, and Charlie, I also recognize he's a tender mercy. So I call Charlie my double rainbow baby because before him, I actually had a miscarriage. And that, again, like, was one of the darkest times of my life because I had my nephews still living with us. And so that life was really hard. I also, okay, so I own a business that I run myself, but then I also work for our family's dance studio. So I have 2 businesses that I help run, and I have 5 children. And at the time I had 6, right? Okay. So that's like, tells you, like, we just had a lot going on. And so when I had my miscarriage, like, first of all, I was so excited to be pregnant because we'd wanted that baby so badly. And anyone who's gone through miscarriage knows it just hurts. Like, there's nothing like a miscarriage. There's nothing like it. It's such a really strange place to be in, when you're supposed to be like in some of the happiest times of your life, being pregnant, and then to be thrown into, like, well, dang it, and then you live with that every day, which is hard. And anyway, so that was hard going through that. So Charlie's my rainbow baby because I had him after a miscarriage, but I also, like, so that's why I was saying I call him my double rainbow, because we went through all the stuff with my nephews, and they don't live with us anymore, so that's ended now. And it's all good, like they're in a good place. But I also, after going through the twins experience, like that was such a rough pregnancy, and then delivering them, and they went straight to the NICU. So I didn't get to hold them. I don't think I got to hold them for the first week of their life, at least. And then to go home without your babies, it's like experiencing death. Like when if anyone who's had kids in the NICU knows, like, it's hard when you have to leave your baby in the hospital and come home empty handed. It hurts really badly. And I didn't get to have them home with me for a long time. And I remember going to my 6-week appointment. And first, I just remember being there, and there were all these women who were still pregnant, and I should have still been pregnant. Or there were women that had their newborn babies with them. And I was like, I should be one of these. I should either still be pregnant, or I should have my newborns with me. And I have nothing. I have neither. I don't have my babies with me at all. They're just in the hospital. And I just remember feeling so empty inside. And so that was hard.
That is an awful experience. And did you have a C-section with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I had my C-section with Benjamin, and he was transferred to a different hospital, and I was like in the hospital by myself in the postpartum care unit, and the nurses are like, "Oh, where's your baby?" Like, that's about the worst feeling ever, where you're like, I'm sitting here feeling like I'm dying,
Yes.
like emotionally and physically, because a C-section is one of the worst things ever. Did you have was it planned, or was it emergency?
It was not planned. I mean, I think I kind of, no, I don't remember if I knew I was going to have it. It was last minute. I don't know if they'd say it was emergency, but I had to go into the hospital I was doing like NST, non-stress tests to check on the babies, because they had twin-to-twin transfusion. So, they shared a placenta. So one baby was getting more than the other. So I was going to the doctor like at least twice every week, and then I would get stuck there because they're like, "Oh, that's not looking good. We want to just look at them for a little bit longer." So it was just, I had gone into the doctor to get a regular checkup, and they were like, "Oh, this isn't looking good. We want to just like watch this for a little bit." And the next thing I knew, they were like, "Okay, we've been watching this. We need to take them out now." So we're going to give
And
you a
that's
C-section.
so scary. What a scary moment, and to be so early.
Yeah. I felt, honestly though, and this is again goes back to God. I felt peace. I knew they were going to be okay. And I know that was a tender mercy from God. But still hard, right? Like you said, being in the hospital room, and I'd had 2 babies before. So I knew what I was supposed to be feeling. Like I knew I was supposed to be having that precious moment after you've like gone through labor, and then you're holding your baby, and they're so precious, and it's so rewarding, and all the hormones are going off, and I didn't have any of that. And then you get to nurse your babies, and there's all these hormones that come off when you're nursing your baby, and it's just like ecstasy. I didn't get that. I had pumps. Like I felt like a cow. Right. And so the drop of, and like missing that, like those natural things, was hard. So having Charlie this time, like kind of going back to that, Charlie was a perfect pregnancy. Absolute perfection. Couldn't have asked for a better. It was so like seamless. His delivery was perfection. Like I went into labor on my own for the first time, exactly on his due date. Like it was perfection. Like what a
That's amazing.
God. I've always had to be induced. Like my first 2, I got induced, and then obviously my twins were a C-section, and I really wanted to go into labor on my own. And I didn't think it was going to happen, and it did. Just perfect. He was perfect. And then to get to hold him, and he nurses perfectly. So all the wonderful things about that experience, and he's just been perfectly healthy, and he's a really happy baby. It's just, I feel like this is that tender mercy from God that's like, well done. Like this is your reward for all the crap that I put you through, or let you go through. I don't think he put me through it, but let you go through over the last like 4 years. This is your reward. And I'm taking it. I'm like, I'm taking this reward, and I'm going to relish in it, because I know life's going to get hard again. I mean, this month has already been hard, but Charlie is kind of my anchor right now. Like whenever I've gotten stressed this month, I just look at him, and I'm just like, oh, I just love you so much. Like he's so perfect. And I guess he kind of reminds me of God. Like he just reminds me that I'm not alone and that he's that blessing, like, and whenever I'm feeling stressed this month, it's that reminder, like God you're not alone. Like he's taking care of you guys and he's carrying you. And just remember, like whenever you look at that little baby face, just remember like God's with you guys and he's taking care of you and everything's going to be okay. So I don't know. So that's like, it's hard for me
Yay. I love that.
yeah, like this whole experience of having 5 kids, it's just compared to everything else we've been through, I consider this a blessing time of my life because we've been through so many harder things.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And it's like when most people think of the newborn stage, they're going, okay, you're not getting any sleep, you're up all night, you're constantly attached. Like that's really hard, but like to see how just beautiful that can be is so refreshing. And
When you wanted it so badly, like, and that's the other thing, like again, I had 4 kids 3.5 years apart. Like it was hard to appreciate those sweet things. Like when I was in that phase of life, getting up every 2 hours was really hard. But it's been 4 years since I had a baby and I had a miscarriage. Like for me, I'm really happy to be getting up every 2 hours. I know that the reason I'm tired is because I have a sweet baby. Like I'm so glad to be tired for that reason. And like, yeah, I have been tired, but I've also been in the best health of my life. So I think that helps a lot too. But again, like, so taking care of yourself, making time to be healthy and fuel your body the right way is like a really big part of being able to survive. And so that's something else that I've recently changed that's helped me a ton too. But yeah, but just going back to that, like, I'm just, I missed it. Like I wanted a baby so badly. And it's been 4.5 years since my twins were babies. So I can just appreciate it a lot more now, I think. So it's just, yeah. And like I said, he's been a really good baby. So I really don't feel like I have anything to complain about.
well, and he is adorable. He is just
Yeah,
gorgeous.
he's a sweetie.
So, do you want to talk about your business and how you've done your business and had kids and been a mom and tried to make that whole thing work? Because I know that that's just a really tough thing for so many people.
It is. Yeah, it's hard. And it has not been easy. I will tell 100% admit that. I've always been a work from home mom. So like I haven't had to go to a job and leave my kids, but I've pretty much always worked from home. So I've gotten pretty good at juggling. So like when my oldest was born, I was in school and I was a TA and I was managing apartments. So I was just doing all those things from home. Um, and that was challenging, but I just had one kid, so it wasn't as hard. And then my husband's family owns a dance studio and I help run that, which that has been a challenge to juggle, but we've had a lot of family support with that. But 2 years ago, I started my online business, and that has been a lot harder to juggle because it's more on me and it takes more of my time and my energy and everything, because it's mine, right? Whereas my other business, it's my family's business, so the whole weight of it isn't just on me. Anyway, I've had to learn a lot. And it's made me a better person. That's definitely been one of the trials of my life, is learning how to juggle both of those things. I've cried a lot. So I'm not here to say that it's easy, because it's not, but the growth that I've experienced from it has been worth it. So that's part of it, is just recognizing like that it's worth it is number one, right? And then being able to focus on your vision, like knowing where I'm trying to go and why I'm doing this is a huge thing. And you can't lose sight of that. Like you've got to keep the dream, the vision in sight. Like you have
The
to
big picture. If you don't
exactly.
have that big picture, it crumbles.
Exactly, because it's so easy when you lose sight of the big picture. It's so easy to give up on it when your kids. I mean, I got to tell you, like when I first started my business, my oldest, he was like, "Mom, you're always doing your business now. Like, how come we never get to see you anymore or something?" Which, first of all, I had to recognize that's not true. This is from the perspective of a 7-year-old. And he's like, it may feel like that to him, but I know that that's not true. And that's one thing that you have to know. Like, your kids are going to give you backlash with it, but their concept of time is completely different. And they know all the right things to say to guilt you into getting what they want. And so
Gosh,
they're
and that's so important to recognize, like, here's what's being told to me, either from my kids or from outside sources or even from my own self, because we
yes.
tell ourselves things all the time.
Yes.
But to go, okay, here's what's actually true. Let me step back and go, okay, this is what is real.
Exactly. And so just recognizing that, like, okay, is this actually taking up all my time away from my kids? And so I did step back and I was like, okay, obviously he's needing some extra of my time. So I can do that. I'm gonna focus on giving him some more of my time. But a lot of people will take that and they'll be like, oh, this is ruining my family. I just need to quit everything. And you have to remember, like, I started this for my family. That's why I'm doing, like, that's why I want to bring in this income, is to support my family, and we need it. And so I didn't let that, we in my business and with like my team that we work with, we say, don't let your reason why become your reason why not. And so a lot of people will do that. They started this for their family and then they quit because of their family, and you just can't let yourself do that. You've got to have a tighter, a more firm mindset, when you're doing that. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is getting organized and just learning how to manage your schedule better. Like, that's something that's been really important for me. My business, I can fit into cracks of my schedule. I can work in 10-minute increments. And so just being intentional with that, just saying, okay, I'm going to sit down right now and I'm going to work on this for 10 minutes while my kids don't need me, because your kids, like, can live without you for 10 minutes. And like, not all businesses allow you to do that, but just setting that time, like, if you need to take an hour, to sit down and do what you need to do, we call it time blocking. So when you look at your schedule, just block out, when am I going to work my business, and also time block, when am I going to spend time with my kids? Like, block out the time for the things that are important to you. And that's another thing that we talk about and we train, is how to, like, prioritize your values. So if you can sit down and say, what are the things that I value? I value time with my family. I value, working on my business. I value personal development and, like, my relationship with God, like those types of things. And then you block out time for those things. So when you have your to-do list, if you know what each thing on your to-do list is, like, relates to a value. So, like, I value having an organized, clean home. So on my to-do list where I have laundry, I know it's not just that I have to do laundry. I'm making time for something that's important to me, which
That
is
is such a great, like, nugget right there. Like, what? To tie everything on your to-do list to a personal value. That's, like,
exactly.
mind blowing. That's so great.
Yeah. And it makes a big difference, because then all of a sudden it's like doing the dishes. It's not just doing the dishes. It's like, I'm doing something that's important to me, and it fills you with, power. And, like, so, like, when I'm working on my business, I've blocked out time to work on my business. And when that's on my to-do list, it's not like, oh, I have to do this, and this is taking me away from my kids or something. It's like, no, like, this is for me. I love doing this. I want to grow my business and my financial security. And I want to help people. What I do, like, I make a huge difference in the, like, I help people with their health and help them get financial freedom. Like, it is so validating and fulfilling. I love what I do. And so when I look at my to-do list, it's not like a chore list. It's like, these are things that are important to me and fill me with purpose. And then I make sure I make time for my kids. Like, and it's not because I have to, or because, oh, like, I got to make sure I do this or whatever. It's like, I value my children and my relationship with them. And so I'm happy to do this. And then I feel confident knowing I spent time today the way I wanted to spend time. And I made time for all those things that are important to me. And it just makes such a big difference.
I just love this so much. This is so, so good. And that's such a perfect way to like reframe like how we think of life and how we spend our time and the things we have to do each day. Because you really can, like, if it doesn't fit into one of your values, maybe you can get rid of it. But then
Exactly.
all the things that like you like picking up the kids. I mean, I spend so much of my time driving people around. And it's like, why? Well, because I love my kids, because I want
Exactly.
them to have the best.
Well, and my husband and I, at one time, we actually sat down and we looked at, like, we wrote down every single thing that I do, including like picking up my kids, making them snacks. And so this was like really nitty gritty in depth, but we actually categorized, like, I wrote down my values and then we categorized what I was doing each day. And we looked at what percentage of my day was spent on what. And it was interesting because we numbered my priorities, like what's most important to me. Is the percentages of my day reflecting that? And so we actually like broke down and we're like, and so we could adjust things like, you know what, maybe we need to spend a little bit less time like with this and a little bit more time with this because that's more important to me than like, I don't know, something else. Like maybe let's spend a little bit less time just cleaning the house all the time and a little bit more time on like my own personal time, because that's something that I always let, that's like kind of one of the first things to go is my own personal time. And I feel it when I do that because my time with God is super important to me, and when I don't give myself that, then I start to tank. And so, but one other thing I wanted to add, I don't know who, if your audience is mostly like moms, I'm guessing, but mom guilt is like such a hard thing. And one thing I recently learned, someone told me this. She was like, because in our industry and like my business, like we're always, and I think any working moms, like we feel mom guilt hardcore. Well, all moms feel it, but we're like, oh man, is this like taking me away from my kids? Like when I'm going out to, I have a lot of meetings like in the evening, or like I do a lot of events and stuff like that, and so sometimes I have to be gone. And I mean, I went to a big convention a couple months ago and I actually missed my kids dance recital for it. And did I feel a ton of mom guilt? Heck yeah, I did. I felt so terrible that I had to miss that, but it was important to me. And I watch my kids dance all the time. So I knew that anyway, I've been there for them. But one thing that she said was, she was like, mom guilt is going to be there regardless. And if it wasn't this that you were taking away from your kids, it would be something else, like spending too much time on social media, or spending too much time in like your calling at church, or spending too much time somewhere else. Like you're always going to have mom guilt. If it's not this, it would be something else. And so you have to just like recognize that it's not whatever passion you're following or your business, like just know, like, having the mom guilt isn't going to get you anywhere. It's not productive. And if you weren't doing it, like if you weren't doing like, with your music, for example, if you weren't doing your music, there would be something else that would be taking you away from your kids that you would be feeling guilty about. And
Absolutely. And I feel like it's really important here to talk about how we set an example for our kids in this, in prioritizing our passions and
mhm,
prioritizing like our mental health and our careers even. Like prioritizing like our own well-being is actually like a really good example to our kids, especially our daughters and
mhm,
and and even our sons as they grow up. And gosh, that was gonna like bring me to tears to think about my sons growing up and like eventually like having wives. Like that's too much, I can't think of that.
mhm.
But it's an important example to set as a mom, that like you are an individual who has thoughts and ideas and passions, who has worked hard, and who deserves to have that niche, that
Yeah,
own space, that identity that is its own thing.
yeah,
Like
like
I,
that you
I
have
yeah.
your own personal interests and passions. And I think also helping to just, I mean, one thing, I don't know if you felt this, for me, when I was in high school, I was a big dreamer, right? I had big ideas of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. I went to college. Oh my gosh. And like, I went to BYU. Okay. So I went from a small town where I was like top dog. Like I was number one on my tennis team. I was like one of the smartest kids. I got great grades in my church. Like I was one of the most strong spiritual people in my church. And, you know, those were things I used to identify myself. Like, this is who I am. And then I went to BYU and everybody's like that. Everyone is the best athlete. They were all the best of the best. Everyone at BYU is phenomenal. And a lot of them are I felt like they were way better at everything than I was. And so I went from being top dog to like way bottom. That's how I felt.
Oh, I felt that way too.
Yeah, and it's hard and it takes a big hit on your self-esteem. And then I also I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life and with my degree. I knew I wanted to be a mom and I knew I wanted to make a big difference, but nothing really fit exactly what I was wanting. And so that was another thing that just tanked my self-esteem. And so I kind of gave up and I learned to stop dreaming and to think small. And I was like, you know, everybody else is going to do big things, but we need small people too. Like we need small people to do the small things in life. And I'll be that person. Like that's who I'm just going to be the small person, the one that nobody notices, but the one that's like making little differences here and there. And I was like, fine. And that was not fine because I was not be small. None of us were meant to be small. And that's something else that, like, if anybody takes something away from this, like, if you are thinking that you were meant to be small, I'm telling you right now, you are wrong. Nobody was meant to be small. Everyone was brought here with amazing gifts and talents and things that the world needs. And yet your children need too. But it's not just them. Like, there are so many people that can benefit from the gifts that we each have. And I really strongly feel like God didn't just mean for our kids to benefit from it. He wanted everybody, anybody in our circle, and even beyond that, right? So
I love this.
yeah, and I just felt stuck like that. And so when I found my business, that's when I woke back up. And I was like, I can be big. Like I was meant to be big. And it was so empowering for me. And that's again why it means so much to me, because it brought me back to myself. Like I had lost kind of that part of myself. And that's me again. Like I'm a big dreamer now and I'm not afraid to go for it. And being able to teach that to my kids, like I'm like, I want you to dream big. And like I want you to do things, you know, like my son is really entrepreneurial. Like he wants to make money. And I'm like, let's do it. Like, that's not one of my gifts. Like, that's not one of my strong suits, but like, let's figure it out, you know? And so, and he's like really into learning new things, which I've always been terrified of. But because of the personal development I gained since doing my business and pursuing that, like, I feel like I'm a much better mom. And my kids get a more confident mom and a much healthier mom too, because starting my business also is what it was the catalyst for me getting into better health. And so my kids have more of my energy, they have more of my confidence, and if that's what doing this business has given my children, like it's worth a few hours that I have to spend away from them, you know. They don't need
That's so amazing. And I have to say, I relate so much. Like, I went to BYU and I was like, I'm going to get in the music program and it's going to be this huge thing. And then I didn't. And I got married like right away. Like,
me
I don't
too.
know. I met and married my husband in 7
Well,
weeks.
I didn't get
Yeah,
you did.
it was
I got married
crazy.
my second year of college. No, after my second year. So yeah.
Yeah, but it was still like I went to BYU and I was like, I'm gonna do music, and then it didn't happen, and then I just like slipped into just being a mom.
Yep.
And that feels like such an easy little, like, I guess now my life revolves around these babies and nothing else ever. Like, because there's no way, because that's what we've kind of, I feel like we've been taught this, like, for our whole lives. Like,
Yeah.
you're a mom, so your whole life revolves around your kids and nothing else. And there's nothing else to go do, because if you don't spend every waking second and every thought and every ounce of energy on your kids, then
Then
you're
you're
doing something wrong. Yeah, then you're
yep.
a bad mom. Then you're not, giving them everything you should. But we're coming to realize, I think, in our generation, that that's not really true, that we can be better and do better, and it helps them.
Yeah. By improving yourself, which is what we're doing. And I definitely think there's a balance, obviously. Like being a mom is that's my biggest passion. I know you feel the same way. Like I wouldn't change anything. I love my kids. They are my whole world and I love them with every ounce of who I am. They are the greatest thing I've ever done. But like improving myself makes me a better mom. And taking on my business has helped me to improve. And so I think that just, finding that like, not here's another thing about balance that I've learned. Balance is a lie. Like it doesn't actually exist. And I saw this demonstration once. If you've ever seen someone doing a handstand, if you look far away at them, they look perfectly balanced, right? Like you're like, oh my gosh, how do they do that? But if you look closely at them, they're actually shaking. Exactly. They're wobbling back and forth. And it's because balance is actually the constant shifting where the shift needs to be. That's what balance is. And so sometimes, yes, I need to take extra time with my kids and that's the shift of the balance. My kids need me more than my business does. But sometimes my kids are fine and my business needs a lot more attention. And so then I shift back over to that. And I think true balance is learning not so much that like life just stays perfect all the time, but knowing when
to shift.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's an art, that it just takes practice. Same with a handstand. It just takes practice. And that's something else that I, have been learning. So I'm definitely not perfect at it at all, but
That is an amazing perspective, though, that like it's just learning, like feeling when to shift, when the shifts need to happen, when different values in our life need a little bit more love.
exactly. Yep.
This
Yeah.
has been like such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for doing this. Like you just have so much like knowledge that you're dropping on me and the podcast, and I just love it. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I love talking about this stuff. So
Well, and it really is like transformative, like
yeah.
to learn these skills that you just are amazing at, and that you have all this to teach.
But that's the thing. It's like it's possible. And one other, I guess, a last thought, like I've learned, so there's a quote that I was just reading. I can't remember exactly how it went. It was from a talk that I was reading, but it was that like there are going to be like the trials in our lives and the difficult moments, the resistance that we feel in our life. It's meant to refine us. It's meant to make us better. And it's going to be hard. It is hard. And it's just like, if you're doing a workout or something and it's just easy, you're not gaining muscle. Like you're not growing. And it's when you feel resistance, when things are hard, that's when you're growing. And that's a good thing. And so if you can just lean into it, just like acknowledge, yes, this is really hard. And I think that's important is to acknowledge that because then you kind of pat yourself on the back like, man, this is really hard. This hurts. Like, but that means I'm growing. And like just kind of let it do its work. And I found when I've stopped resisting the pain and like resisting when I kind of just like relax into the challenges, I'm able to do them a lot better. And then I actually grow, like when you're working out, if you can like embrace the struggle and kind of push through it a little bit, like that's when you grow. And so, I think that's just another important thing to just remember when you're going through it, just there's purpose for it. There's purpose behind the suffering. Again, going back to what we started with, like when you lean on God, you're going to come out of it, like, and it's going to be better than you could have imagined. So
yay. I love it. It's that, yeah, it's just so important. I love it so much. Thank you for coming on today. I really, really loved this conversation.
me too. Well, I think you're a perfect example of this. Like I have to tell you, like I admire you so much, and there's been numerous times where I've been going through something challenging and I've like thought, what would Carol Lee do? Because I'm like, Carol Lee would never give up. I've watched you like, and you blow me away with your grit. Like, seriously, I'm like, man, that girl has got grit like nobody I've ever known. So I'm glad that you're doing all of this because it's inspiring. And as I know that a lot of stuff that you've gone through has been so hard, like, like I can't even imagine. But and as much as this sucks, I think that the world needs you to kind of go through it because you do it so well, and people need your light, and your experience.
Well, thank you. Well, and you were totally right. Like the more things you go through, like the easier it goes. Like my last episode I did for my podcast was me talking about our car thing that we've been going through, and like I hit this stupid piece of metal in the road and it punctured our gas tank, and then we were able to get this new car, and then the transmission didn't work on it.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, my perspective now is so different than it would have been before, because I'm sitting here like, all right, what's gonna happen next? This makes a great story. Like, I know we can get through this somehow. Like, this has
Yeah.
been insanity, it's true, but like, what's gonna happen next? In this epic saga that unfolds as my life, and yeah, so everything I've been through has just helped change that perspective to like the big picture. Like, this won't last forever. Eventually we'll have a reliable car. Like, and this seems so tiny in comparison to other things that we've been through. And so, yeah. Anyways, I really appreciate that. That was so sweet of you. That grit comes with a lot of tears.
Yeah. Always does.
Always does. Anyways, I'm going to let you go. But thank you so much. This
Yeah.
was just a joy to talk with you. We need to talk more.
I definitely agree. When we're not.
I know. I keep like waiting for just like a normal week. I'm like, one of these days I'll have a normal week. And then I'm like, haha, that's not going to happen. There's no such thing. There's
Yeah,
no
I should have
normal.
out because my kids are all in school, but like somehow that doesn't help like I thought it
You
would.
know, that's exactly right. Like, I was like, okay, the kids are going to start school and then I'll be able to just be home and work on my stuff. And I'm like, I'm never home.
Now I'm distracted.
It's like, I swear I drive 3 or 4 hours a day. I'm like, I'm never home. Like,
Yep.
how did this happen? I'm like, don't get me wrong, like emotionally, like not having my kids every second of the day is
Yes.
really good for me. But
Yes.
like, I'm not home with all this free time.
Yeah.
Like, it's busy, busy, busy.
Exactly. Or you have very small increments of time to do things. Like that's what's been the struggle for me because I'm like take my kids in the morning plus nursing a baby every 2 or 3 hours, right? And then I have my twins have preschool at like 11:40, so then I have to take them, and then I have like an hour and a half maybe to do literally everything else. And then they come home from school and then it's chaos again, and it's like
Oh, I
lot.
so feel that. That is absolutely my life where I'm like, okay, here's this and this and this, and just like fit it all in. And it's like a big puzzle. But it's a puzzle that's constantly shifting because something
Yes.
always changes every day. Where it's like,
Exactly.
oh, wait, my husband forgot this. Now I have to make an extra 45 minutes of my day to go bring him whatever he forgot at work or whatever because we're down to
Yep.
one vehicle. And like something like, oh, Aurora's got early outs all week this week. So now I have to rearrange my whole schedule because she's out 3 hours
Well, and
earlier.
they all go to schools.
Yep, 3 kids at 3 different schools that are across.
And they're what? Are they're across like the city or whatever?
Yeah, so I have one close to me. Joshua is within 5 minutes. His school's it's not our home elementary, but it's the next closest one, so it's about 5 minutes away. And then Aurora's at hers is both Aurora's and Benjamin's are about 15 minutes away, but like they're about 5 minutes from each other. If that makes sense.
Yes. That's hard. That's
But then
last
3 different schedules and
Yeah, well, and that's what's just so hard. Like the different schedules, the different schools. I mean, for me, last year I had 4 kids at the school that's right by us, and then my twins were at a different preschool that's only 5 minutes away, but like it's another trip.
It is amazing how much like secretarial work is involved in being a mom and
Yeah.
how stressful that is. And you're like, I don't get paid for organizing all of our lives.
I was, I love my husband so much, but I like thinking about this the other day. I was like, I literally work 2 other jobs. Like I have my studio and my business, plus like literally everything with our family. And he works and then comes home. And it's just like he goes to one job. Whereas for me, I'm like throughout my entire day, I'm like, okay, now I'm businesswoman. Now I'm studio office worker. Now I'm chauffeur. Now I'm school teacher. Now I'm cleaner. Now I'm cook. Now I'm nurturer and therapist. And like
The
it's just,
emotional,
we
like,
wear so much.
yeah, the emotional, like, burden that moms carry, like, to contain all of the things, all the birthdays, all of the friends' birthdays, all of the field trips, all of the parent teacher
All the
conferences, all of
paperwork,
the.
school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That's at his birthday. And I like did that basically all by myself. Like I I'm the one that financially figured out like how the heck are we gonna
Oh
pay for
yeah, and
presents?
every Christmas it's the same, and every like, oh, Easter, like, where is this money coming from to get these kids gifts that they expect that we want them to like enjoy, or like any holiday,
Yeah.
like the whole planning that goes into making a holiday
Like we're
is.
gonna what presents are we getting? Like how are we wrapping them? Like what's the agenda for the time? And like I mean that's the with the birthday party, you know. I was like, I have to figure out financially how I'm doing this. I have to figure out all the different presents that I'm getting him that will fit in our budget but still make him really happy. And then I have to figure out how to make him a cake that also is in budget and somehow fit that into the rest of my schedule. Like, you know, and anyway, and then like my husband just like showed up for it. And I was like, man, I love you and I'm grateful that you provide for us, but you have no idea what goes into the behind the scenes of our life. Like, I don't know. I mean, he does, and he's,
You are so right.
but yeah. So,
Well, and I know that like my husband mentally, like, he knows too. Like he can't do this organization the way that I can. Like, he just does not have the capacity. I mean, he just can't mentally compartmentalize all of it. And it's like, I see that. And so then I have to compensate for it,
yeah,
you know?
it's a lot, but moms are superheroes.
It's
So,
true. Moms deserve all of the credit. Like, just so much. So,
yes.
anyways, all the credit to you. You are incredible and amazing. And thank you so much for coming on. What an incredible conversation. I just loved everything that Kelli had to say. So I'm going to give you a quick little rundown of all of my very favorite takeaways, and there are a lot because she said so many great things. All right. Number 1, a lot of the depression that we feel is like the check engine light of your car. There's a reason you're feeling it. It's your body telling you that something's not right. Number 2, put the bag down. The bag of fear, the bag of anger, the bag of disappointment, the bag of embarrassment, the bag of sadness, and find the gratitude. Number 3, when you combat those things that are bringing you down with gratitude, those are like pockets of sunshine that will blast through all that darkness. Number 4, God is there. You're not alone. He is carrying you, and everything's going to be okay. Number 5, being able to focus on your vision, like knowing where you're trying to go and why you're doing it, is a huge thing. You can't lose sight of that. Number 6, don't let your reason why become your reason why not. Number 7, prioritize your values and plan your to-do list accordingly. Number 8, none of us were meant to be small. Number 9, balance is a lie. It's actually constant shifting. Knowing when to shift is an art and takes practice. And lastly, number 10, the resistance that we feel in life is meant to refine us. If it's easy, you're not growing. So thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of Seeking Sunshine. I hope you'll come back. We have a lot of amazing stuff coming up, and I'm going to leave you with one of my songs. This is a newer one that most people haven't heard yet, so take a listen and tell me what you think. I would love it if you would leave a review or give us a like or follow us. That would be just amazing. Have a wonderful day.